Order. Members, the House is in committee on the Veteran Support Bill. It's now resumed, and we were last considering the bill before the dinner adjournment. Moana Maki had called. She has about 3.5 minutes. If she doesn't wish to avail herself of that, I will take the call from the Honourable Phil Goff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As we've said before on this bill is strongly supported by the Labor Party. And why would the Labor Party not support this when back in 2007 I worked very hard with the then Minister of Veterans Affairs, Rick Barker, to introduce a scheme that would update and modernise the War Pensions Act of 1954. That was part of a process of negotiation that I had as Minister of Defence, along with Rick Barker as Minister of Veterans Affairs, with the then President of the Royal New Zealand Returned and Services Association, John Campbell, and the Chair of the Ex-Vietnam Services Association, Chris Mullane. What we did at that time was work out a process that was designed to achieve the best possible replacement to the 1954 Act. And that replacement, we thought, would be best worked through after an extensive period of consultation by a group that was outside of the political process. And we gave that task to the Law Commission. The Law Commission did do its work incredibly thoroughly. And I would have thought that there was no room for political debate around this, that what we would do is put in place the critical recommendations of the Law Commission, and part of the objective of this legislation was to be more generous to our war veterans. But for reasons that this government has still not explained adequately, they decided to cut costs by cutting benefits to the veterans. So first of all, the Minister said that he wasn't going to allow all veterans who had served on overseas deployments in operational areas to get the veterans' pension. You would only get that if you were 52% disabled. And try as I did in the Select Committee to find whether there was any rationale behind why a person had to be 52% disabled to get a veterans' pension, no explanation was forthcoming. The officials had worked hard on this legislation. They couldn't give an explanation. The National Party members of the Select Committee sitting over there couldn't give an explanation either. I brought in an SOP that would have changed that. The Minister backed down at that point because he knew his position was absolutely unsupportable, and he agreed that the veterans' pension would apply to all of those who had operational service. And along with that, there are these small benefits. You get the Community Services Card automatically. You keep your pension if you're hospitalised for more than 13 weeks. But in an extraordinary display of penny pinching, the Minister said, but we are not going to give those veterans a lump sum payment on death to cover the funeral costs. It's a small amount, $5,700, unless they are still 52% disabled. And I asked the Minister why. I sought outside of this chamber to get agreement from the Minister. And first of all, he said, well, this would just help the families. Well, unapologetically, Mr. Chairman, I say that the families of the veterans deserve that support. And every veteran would say that. The veterans are not naive about that. And then he said the cost was too great. Well, I asked the question on the Select Committee on the estimate, sir, and the cost is actually, here it is, it's $7.3 million in the first year, dropping by $1 million every 2 years. This government, in the Foreign Affairs estimates, is going to spend $13 million on a conference next month in Samoa. $13 million, but somehow we can't afford to give $7 million to honour the veterans who put their lives at risk, that sacrificed for their country, that worked for their country. We can't afford it. We can give Rio Tinto $30 million to keep Bluff going for another year or two, but we can't give our veterans $7.3 million. That excuse, Mr. Chairman, simply does not wash. I asked the Minister what was happening with Veterans Affairs expenditure. You know, it's down $23 million over the last 5 years. It's been cut by $23 million. Over the next 4 years, it'll be cut by another $22 million. The money is there now, so let some person, just one person, on the National Party benches stand up and explain why we are rejecting what the veterans asked for, why we are rejecting what the RSA asked for, why we are rejecting what the Law Commission recommended to cut the veterans' payment, Mr Chairman, in that way.
So the question is, we've got some amendments for Part 1, and the first question is the Minister's amendments to Part 1 set out on SOP number 480. Question is that the Minister's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. We now move to the amendment in the name of the Honourable Phil Goff to Part 1 set out on SOP 441. The question is that the Honourable Phil Goff's amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Are you sure? They said they were going to support it.
Order. Order. Now look, the member's been around a while and he knows that's entirely out of order. The members casting votes know the consequences of misleading the House, and no member should interrupt a vote for any purpose. A point of order.
Trying to be helpful to the whip just to check out that he had read his instructions right, because my understanding from the Māori Party was that they would be supporting the amendment. I'd rather sort it out now than have to have the whip come back and explain to the House after that he got it wrong.
And it's not to interject, and the members admonished for that. Right.
Well, speaking to the point of order, I am reading from what I believe to be the instructions, but I hear the point the member is making. Maybe if there's an opportunity just for me to double-check that, but it is my understanding that I am recording the vote correctly.
Yep.
And I seek that
well, let me just then now score what the process is. The member who's casting the vote should do so on the instruction he has. If he gets an instruction that he has voted in error of what the intention was, it is the course of this House by leave to correct the vote. Okay, that's the way it works. So we will now ask the clerk to continue. He should call the last vote again.
New Zealand National.
Well, I mean, start with the interruption.
I didn't realise we were going right back at the beginning. 59 votes opposed.
Mana Party.
Maori, I think we were.
Sorry, Māori Party, I have cast 3 votes opposed in line with the government's position.
Mana.
But as I say, I'm going to go and check it.
Mana.
No.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 vote opposed.
Brendan Horan. Any other votes?
Ayes are 56, noes are 63. The amendment's not agreed to. We have an amendment in the name of Andrew Williams, amendment to clause 15E set out on SOP number 452. The question is that Andrew Williams' amendment be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. Are you voting?
I was trying to check the previous information.
Okay, well, we're now on this Andrew Williams amendment.
Yes, I beg your pardon. 59 votes opposed.
Opposed. So no one's called. I'm now at the stage where I'm order. So the noes have it. A party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote opposed.
Brendan Horan. Any other votes?
Ayes are 56, noes are 63. The amendment is not agreed to. Question now is that Part 1 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we move to Part 2, the debate on clauses 25 to 30. So the question is that Part 2 stand part. Honourable Phil Goff.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to speak in support of Part 2, and it's a relatively small part, but it is nevertheless reasonable.